The Deadlights eyes.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I'll play again.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Killer Mom.
I'm just gonna bash you.
Killer.
What's blood for? If not for shedding.
Welcome to 31 Days of Horror Movies
Ron?
2021. I'm your host, Sam Johnston. Back with me again, a very special guest, Tommy Lee, my father,
Johnston.
his
father.
Also Johnston.
As far as we know.
So we just watched Green Room from 2015, directed and written by Jeremy Saulnier. A punk rock band is forced to fight for survival after witnessing a murder at a neo-Nazi skinhead bar. That's a recipe for disaster, really. Murder at neo-Nazi bar. Yikes.
I don't know. You think punk band, you think something a little different. They looked a little bit too sort of white bread to be in a punk band.
They were pretty pretty clean.
Clean cut.
And they also set up the band as, I mean, they're on the road.
Yeah.
They're also, just getting by with what they got.
Yeah, they're struggling.
They're struggling. They don't have
Yeah.
much money. So you would kind of think that maybe they're a little, dirtier, a little more mingly,
Right, when they're siphoning gas from other cars and parking lots to keep their tank full.
Right.
So, and they're willing and very happy to do it. I mean, they don't think twice about it. They definitely have the punk sort of attitude, sensibility about them. I mean, they don't give a shit, right?
I thought it was kind of interesting, the early moments of the movie, and it does come back a little bit later when they get to the venue. When they're driving, there's things like seem to slow down.
Yeah.
Like it's like rays of sun kind of coming in. Everything looks kind of almost like heavenly lit. The music is a lot slower, not punk music at all. It's almost like atmospheric, angelic almost music. Like they're in their own world.
They're almost taking a break from this attitude, this punk attitude that they have. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're kind of taking a break from it. At least it felt that way. Because, there's quick little shots. I thought it was actually shot. That was kind of a pretty moment. If you could have a pretty moment in a movie like this, but a pretty moment in the way that it was shot. I thought it was nice cinematography. But we get little glimpses of each of their faces. And, these are just kids, right? They're just kids. And they have these moments of innocence, I guess, about them.
It felt like, because we also, as the audience, do know that this is a horror movie, thriller, we know something bad is coming.
Yes.
When I was looking at it as, yes, they're innocent, but they're also naive.
Right. They were promised $350 to go and play, and to them that was actually a pretty good a pretty good day's work for how many people in the band? Five people in the band.
I think especially after we see them play their first gig at the Mexican restaurant, and they each get
$6.
$6.
They got $6 and they got a lot of rice and beans to take.
A lot of rice and beans.
Yeah. This is how life is on the road. There's even a slight discussion there about music and the fact that their music isn't something that's necessarily going to. They don't promote themselves a whole lot in social media or any of that.
They don't have any social media.
They don't.
Yeah.
And there's that little mention of, it's really just, this is not music that most people are going to listen to. They kind of feel that anyway, it seems.
That kind of attitude too. Oh, we aren't on social media is kind of a punk attitude. It's rebel.
Right.
Because who isn't on social media?
Right.
Especially as a band nowadays.
I'm sure there's plenty of punk bands on social media. Quite
I'm sure
honestly,
there are.
Well, we've seen a few, but yeah, I mean, it is a punk attitude. I think
it's kind of a rebellion against society.
Right. They do have an edge about them, for sure.
Yeah.
They may not look the part, but then that's okay. Maybe they're a punk band that doesn't want to look the part, but they certainly act the part.
Maybe they more are just acting the part.
Yeah. Because
Because they think that's how they should be. Because we then eventually do see other characters, the real bad guys of this movie, the neo-Nazis, and they are, bad.
And and this is where this punk band really, I think individually, they realize they're not as tough as they think they are.
Oh, yeah.
So they've been living this kind of like, we're a punk band, we're awesome, But now suddenly they're thrust in a situation where they're not the toughest guys in the room.
And then they arrive at the actual venue.
Which
And
is more like a compound.
Right.
Really.
I was actually thinking when they were driving there, it's like heavy woods in the middle of nowhere. If they scream, I don't think anyone is going to hear them.
Well, as they're pulling in, we see one gate a quick glimpse of a gate with a lock on it, So already you have a sense of, okay, there's people are are locked in somewhere, or they're locking
Yeah.
something up, or they're arriving at a place that needs to be locked up.
Or just
Why?
the image of chains in general.
Right.
Just invoke
Yeah.
jail
Yeah,
or
right.
captivity.
Right.
And I mean, when they pull up to the venue and it's all skinheads. That like immediate neck grab, I think, sets the tone for what's going to happen here.
There's immediate anger from the second that they arrive. They've just jumped out of the van, and boom, one of them has his hand on his throat.
Yeah.
It's like, welcome to the party. Welcome to the party.
This
right?
is the first moment
yeah,
here. And
yeah. They haven't even unloaded their gear yet.
Yeah.
And there's already
violence taking
violence.
place.
Right.
Yeah. And then they load in. They go into the green room, and they're kind of obviously like, these guys are creeps, but let's just get in, get out.
Right.
I think it's interesting when they're on stage, the bassist is the one that's most nervous about being there for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't feel right about.
He
about
feels
what's going
bad
on.
about everything.
Yeah.
He's looking around, looking at things happening, and he just has a really bad feeling.
His instincts are firing. He just doesn't. He just wants out. You can tell.
But then the girl, I think she's the guitarist, is like, if you pussy out, I'll tell them you're Jewish or something like that.
Yeah,
it's again just kind of like they all know they're in a bad situation, but just turning a blind eye.
Get it done.
Just get in, get out.
We'll get in, we'll get out, because they probably have been in places like that, where they've just done it and they've gotten out.
Yeah.
This was maybe one stop too far. They're playing it. I think that what they were saying was Nazi punks. Fuck 'em. Was that the song?
That's what I heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the crowd didn't take. It's an interesting song to start with. At that crowd, so they definitely have an attitude. They're pushing the envelope from the very beginning, and so beers are being thrown. They don't care. But once they get into the second song, which is more of one of their originals, more of what these people just want that that hard driving, loud screaming punk.
They just want that release.
That release.
Yeah.
And it's interesting in that moment, isn't it? Because when that starts, we see the music, the punk music fades. Mm-hmm. It goes into more of an orchestral kind of slow. You see them jumping up and down, almost like a mosh pit, with more of an orchestrated ballet. It almost looks like a ballet.
Yeah. And it's also, that music is the same music that we heard when they were road tripping and when they were in kind of this, their idealized life as a punk band.
Right.
This is one of those moments when they're playing their punk music and everyone's getting into it.
Right.
And they're feeling like they made it. This is it.
But I think it puts everybody at ease on stage at that point where they're like, okay, this is cool. We're going to get through this.
We settled in.
We're out of here.
Yeah, we did it. They finish the concert and they go and get paid.
They get paid.
And
without a problem.
They can't go in the green room though because the headlining band's in there. But that's fine. Oh shoot, I forgot my phone. And I think it's the bass player that goes in there. It's like, excuse me, oopsie,
oops,
girl
Shit.
on the ground, knife in head.
Yep.
Everyone looking at him like, oh,
in the green room,
in the green room, which is the place that we constantly go back to, in this movie, throughout the movie.
Yeah,
it's not only like the green room, but also like the safe room, like the panic room.
Right.
They always return back to there when they're trying to like reset and come up with the next plan.
Right.
No one seems surprised that there's a murder going on.
No. The murders happened and they're dealing with it. They just didn't expect our hero band to step in the middle of it.
Right.
And that changes whatever plans they had for covering up this murder that just happened in that green room.
The manager's like, it'll be okay. We're going to call the police. It's going to be fine. I'll be right back. He walks outside real quick, and then he comes back, and then he has a gun, and he's still like, it's okay. Don't worry. He's like very calm.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Just get in the room.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It's fine. Everyone just kind of gets trapped in that room for a while.
Yeah.
While the neo-Nazis are trying to figure out what they got to do. And at this point, I think they're completely intimidated and have no idea what to do.
Yeah, they suddenly seem very small, right? They're kind of surrounded and engulfed with this neo-Nazi land. I mean, they're stuck in the middle of this compound, and they just want to get out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and literally, I noticed this a little later, in that green room, it is completely covered with graffiti, marker, all of just hate and Nazi symbols and all. Like they are, and I wrote that down. Like they're overwhelmed by the Nazis in this compound, and it's literally all it's surrounding them.
They're surrounded by it. Yeah.
They come back in and they clear everyone out except for the band members and Amber, who is
just a character who suddenly is
there.
We don't know why she's there. She part of the she's friends with the person who was murdered.
Right.
You know, but is she part of that band? We don't know yet.
Darcy has shown up, which is we learn the owner of the place, played by
Patrick Stewart, which was a surprise. Like, Patrick Stewart just showed up? He's more than the owner of the venue. He is he's their lead neo-Nazi guy.
Yeah.
He's their
also the head of the operation that they uncover, pretty much that this compound is dedicated to cooking heroin.
It's all about the heroin.
That's his business.
Yeah.
He talks about, my business will not go under tonight.
Right.
You might be out of a job, talking to the manager of the venue, but my business is not going to go down tonight.
Right.
He's all about protecting his operation.
Right.
And people are very scared of him.
They're deathly afraid of who he is and the power that he has, and these red laces, these
kind of seem like the elite Nazi squad.
You earn your red laces, which are just that. They're shoelaces that are red, and when you get them, you've been promoted. You're basically promoted to do sort of the heavy work, the killing, that kind of stuff. For Darcy.
You're one of the dogs.
Yeah.
You're one of those dogs.
Exactly.
And so Patrick Stewart is, gathering the forces outside this whole movie. They're having to obviously learn quickly of what they have to do in this situation. Someone, I think, even says, do the math. The police aren't coming.
Right.
Patrick Stewart, I at that moment, knocks on the door and is like, hey, it's me, Darcy. Old neo-Nazi leader. He tells the guy to just give him the gun.
We're going to let you go.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. And what does the band do?
Well, they get the gun.
Right.
And then they rush at this guy.
Right.
And they start fighting with this guy. And this first fight is very clumsy.
Yeah.
Like the first guy runs at him and just bites his shoulder, like kind of like not a great bite either. He just pushes him off really easily. It like flings him across the room.
I was waiting for this to happen.
It felt like that.
Right,
it was like they clearly had never been really in a fight.
With the exception of one guy.
One guy.
Who was
but he said he had done wrestling.
Right.
In, I think, high school.
Probably had to be high school. Yeah.
So that was all the fighting experience he had was like organized wrestling.
Right.
But it was clumsy, and they finally get him down though. So they're successful in this first fight.
And they think they now have sort of the upper hand here
For
in
sure.
the situation. They don't.
No.
Yeah, they have no idea.
No.
They're so closed in, they have no idea what's going on around them outside.
Mm-hmm.
In their mind, they think they've got power now. They got this guy. He must care about this guy. Darcy doesn't care about that guy.
Got it.
He doesn't care about what's going on in there, right? He just is concerned about what's going on underneath that green room, which is where they produce the kitchen, where they produce all their heroin or whatever it is that they're baking down there, right?
Yeah.
And he just wants them out. He wants this cleaned up, and he wants to move on.
And the only reason really that he's not just going in there and just shooting all of them is because he wants to be able to set them up, some sort of set up the bodies in some sort of way.
Well, he wants them dead, but he wants no bullets. He wants, as he says, how did he put it? Blades and bites.
Blades and bites.
Okay, the blades, they had knives, they had machetes, and then they had these two pit bulls.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that was the interesting part about this movie, too, is the pit bull handler was, like, concerned about that pit bull.
Yes.
And took care of it.
Yeah.
And clearly loved it. This Nazi, loved this animal.
Right.
Way more than... He had more concern for the dog's life, way more than human.
Oh, yeah, he didn't
life.
like people. He just liked his dogs.
This is the first moment I've seen any of these characters have any emotion, and it's concern towards the dog.
Right.
Which is just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Their priorities are obviously completely skewed.
Well, if we can jump, I know we're jumping ahead, but that last moment where the handler's dead, and the one dog sort of reappears, And rather than attack the people he's been attacking, he simply goes over to his handler and he just lays his his snout on his arm. And, he's nothing without the commands that and in some ways that's who Darcy is, right? He's kind of like he's the guy who's throwing out all of the commands, and everybody else, like you said, are his dog. I thought he was an interesting choice for casting. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
If I thought he was effective in this moment. He had a little bit too much of that Commander Picard in him still, the way it's that voice, or I keep wanting to call him Magneto.
Oh, Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
Professor X.
From X-Men. So it was hard separating him because he wasn't stretching his acting muscle a whole bunch in this film.
I wish there was a moment or two where he really showed his dog, essentially, his animal, because he was soft spoken.
Yeah.
Everyone was afraid of him, clearly because of the things that he's done.
Yeah.
He's set up some sort of image of himself that
Right.
he's brutal and in control.
Right.
But I wish we as the audience saw one of those moments, like him really losing it and not being like the Patrick Stewart that we know.
Well, everybody was concerned about him showing up. He shows up halfway through this film, and everybody's like, "Oh, Darcy's coming." So already you're afraid of whoever this person is. It would have been, I thought, in my mind, more effective to have had him be a much sort of sweeter guy at the beginning, where he's like, hey, everything's cool, and you kind of get a sense, okay, this guy's fine, and then then he's not so sweet, obviously.
He seemed even keel the entire time.
To the very last
There was
moment.
never a moment where he actually lost it. I wish there was that.
Because the guy obviously is completely crazy. He's completely nuts.
And I wish we would have seen one of those moments where he went completely nuts.
Right.
Just one.
He even talks about the fact that they're not, I just wanted to clean this up, that they're not able to clean it up. He admits to maybe underestimating, his own plan. But he never takes it beyond that level, where he just completely now goes berserk and everything just kind of goes crazy.
Yeah.
Like it probably should.
And maybe if they just would have got an actor who is that same demeanor, but there's something else underneath where a brewing evil something. I don't know. This wouldn't be the right cast at all, but just the attitude of like Christoph Waltz or something like that, where he is still very put together and sophisticated, but there's something weird and evil underneath.
Yeah, and he's a master of that.
Yes.
Right? I mean, he's won 2 Oscars doing
that exact same role.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think you're right with that. I think that's what you want, that's what you need, because that's what creates this sort of manipulator who's able to take all these neo-Nazi kids, these kids who are all sort of lost in life and have no family. It's that whole gang mentality, and he's able to bring them in and to follow him, right? So that's kind of what you need, is somebody who's just a master manipulator.
Yeah, sweet talker.
Kind of missing with Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, to me, Patrick Stewart didn't convince me that giving the gun over is the only option,
He didn't do enough, in my mind, to be able to convince him to just hand the gun over.
No.
Absolutely.
We don't want any guns. That's all he kept saying. We don't want any guns.
You can go home. We can go home.
Go home,
right.
Yeah, and what does he do? Basis sticks. Actually, it was cool how they did it.
It was cool.
Because Amber is looking through the crate at Patrick Stewart's feet to make sure he's the only one there and this isn't a trap. And the door is kind of opening really slowly and you only see his feet. And as he's putting the gun out the window, you see the red laces revealed. And boom, his arm is grabbed and it's kind of this tug of war between the gun.
And he's being completely sliced up by 4 or 5 different guys with knives on his arm.
That's like a machete attack. I've ever seen one.
Right.
Pulls his hand back in and
it's just flopping
It's just like it's barely on.
Right.
And
thank God for duct tape.
Duct tape saves a lot of people.
It saves lives.
Times.
It saves lives.
I even wrote a note about it. I was like, duct tape is really coming
use
through.
It for anything.
The movie turns here.
Right.
This is the first time we really see, besides the first, we don't see the first kill of the girl in the green room. This is the first time we really see violence going on. The hand, the guy, gets his arm broken and then his belly split open by Amber. It's just like, all right, this movie's turning to, we have now entered battle time.
Right.
War
survival.
Zone. This is survival mode.
Right.
Yeah, this is kill or be killed at this point.
We just got to get out of this room.
Yeah.
We're going to go. Some of us may die, but we got to go. And so they try.
Mm-hmm.
And he was right.
Yeah.
Some of them did die.
Some of them did die.
Right.
And it was, because...
He was the guy that died, actually.
He was the guy that died, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, in that moment, that's the first time that they use a dog.
Yeah.
The dog gets one guy on the neck out.
Right.
And then that guy jumps out of a window, and as soon as he jumps out of a window...
They're waiting for him. Yeah.
Right
There's no place to go.
There's
no place to go.
Every time they go out of the green room, people don't come back.
Yeah.
Some people don't come back.
Fewer people come back.
But they're... Every time they come back to the green room, they're realizing more and more how they have to survive.
Right.
And they're becoming stronger.
Right.
Becoming, I guess, more animalistic, too.
Right. Right.
They're losing their humanity every time they go out.
And they're losing their fear.
Yes.
Right? Because it's survival, they're at the point now where just fuck it. You know what? I may die, but they're not scared anymore. It's now down to, our bass player guy with the duct tape on the arm, and Amber, this person that we still don't ever really know.
We know, what we learn about her is that she's part of the neo-Nazi group.
Right.
She was part of the house band, which I think we're all just probably part of the neo-Nazi group.
Yeah. I think they did a pretty good job at making you wonder whether or not she was at some point just part of the overall plan to get these people out. I thought about that a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Was she just in there and she was going to get the band out and feed them to the wolves out there? Or was she truly trying to get out of that room? Did she feel her life was in danger? We find out that, of course it was.
Definitely in danger.
Yeah.
I like Amber's character, and she's definitely, because I think that she's lived in this very violent environment for so long, I think she's got the highest kill count of all these characters.
Yeah, she has no problems killing also.
She's the first one that slices the belly open.
Right.
She's fine with stabbing people in the necks and slitting their throats, and we need to survive this.
Yeah.
We need to get through. We need to get out of here.
Right.
And we need to do whatever it takes to do it. She's accepted that from the whole time. I think it takes the rest of the band members, that's their journey in this movie, to realize you have to almost become them to beat them.
Right.
And then he shaves his head, and they put the camouflage stuff on their faces.
He now looks like a neo-Nazi himself.
He's transformed.
Yeah.
He's transformed into them. His character really, really changes. Because this whole time, he's been very soft-spoken.
Yeah.
He had the instincts at the beginning, that something is wrong here. He didn't want to be there. One of the first times that they run out of the room even after his arm is slashed up, the guitarist, I think, tries to hand him a weapon, and he was just like, no. I'll just hide.
Or
I'll just run.
I'm just running.
Yeah, I'm just running.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want to...
He just wants out of there.
...hurt anybody else, even though they just cut up his entire arm.
Right.
And they happen upon them setting them up. They're blackmailing them. They have the guys at the van.
Right.
Amber ends up killing both of them. And the only person that the bassist actually ends up killing is the kill shot of Patrick Stewart.
Right.
Kind of his full transformation into a neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
Or just a survivor, essentially.
Yeah. 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 And I always love, I think when we talked about Chucky, Child's Play, a few weeks ago, we kind of joked around about how Chucky's mom, not Chucky's mom, but Andy's mom, suddenly became this great shot with a gun.
Yep.
This guy who's probably never shot a gun in his life, pinpoint shot right through the head from how many yards away.
Yeah, it was a great shot.
So, whoa, okay,
wow,
because they only had so many bullets, but he did it.
He did it. Cool.
All right, here we go.
Green room.
The green room.
Wow,
it's done.
Not like any green room I've ever been in.
Well, the next time I'm in a green room, I'm going to check all exits, make sure there's more than just one.
Check the floorboard, see if there's a heroin cookery in the basement.
You never know.
That's your first sign that you are not in the right place.
Right. And I'm looking around here. There's only one exit in this room here too, with all the horror going on around us.
The green room. The Sam room.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, thank you again for coming back.
Hey, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
Please plug yourself.
Oh, Tommy Lee Johnston on Instagram. You can find me at Tommy Lee Play.
Tommy Lee Play. And you can find me at Beep Beep Richie T on Instagram, and also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we're recording this at.
Mm-hmm.
But until tomorrow, let's get spooky.
All right.
We are Nazis.